Old School Lane Casual Chats is brought to you by Old School Lane, producing various content from blogs, videos, and podcasts discussing about movies, TV shows, video games, and everything else in between since 2011. You can check out the podcast on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public, Overcast, Breaker, Pocket Cast, and YouTube. We're associated with Channel Frederator, Manic Expression, The Comic Book Cast, and The Arun Mehta Show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a very special episode of Casual Chats. I am Patricia, and as of the recording of this podcast and the time that I'm going to post it, it's going to be the 20th anniversary of ChalkZone, and I have with me two very special guests. They are the creators of ChalkZone. I have with me Mr. Bill Burnett and Larry Huber. So welcome, guys.
Hello, Patricia.
So I'd like to know from the both of you, what would you say were your early influences in either writing or composing music or art or whatever that you did in order for you to create the animated shows and even such as ChalkZone that we even have today?
Well, for me, it was the children's art. That's what got me all excited. I mean, I'm not saying that I draw like a child. I actually have progressed out of that. I'm more like a fractured teenager at this point in my life. But the excitement that's in the child's art, and I'm talking about this real flat perspective, glued on looking stuff, always bright colors because this attracts them. I just found that amazing. It's also very interesting because I studied art history in Cal Arts when I was there, to know that all children, art looks exactly the same no matter what continent they come from, what background their childhood was. They all, if they pick up something like a crayon or a pencil or a piece of chalk and they start to draw, it all looks the same no matter if they're from Zimbabwe or from England. So I found that interesting, that we're all like one people when it comes down to that point. That was what
that is really interesting. I never thought of that before, Larry. That's that from my experience, that is true. But so you've examined that and discovered that Japanese kids draw the same as Australian kids, huh?
Yeah, I do find that really interesting.
We all start with a scribble.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, we all start with a scribble, no matter who the artist is, no matter what they do in terms of what direction they want to go for art, whether they want to do painting, whether they want to do storyboards, whether they want to do caricatures. It all starts with a scribble. You're absolutely right.
And what's interesting about it is that also, if you're talking about children, when we are, they progress the same. It starts with a scribble, and then it goes from a series of lines, and then it goes to an amoeba shape, and then shapes within the amoeba shape. They go all the way down that. It's where it changes. It's where it's affected by the community that they deal with. For example, somewhere along the line, the shape with a shape on top of it and a couple of sticks out of it is someone like mom or dad says, that looks like a cow. And from that point on, the child tries to draw a cow. So we're all influenced by commercial art. I think that's what I learned from that whole process.
Very interesting.
Well, my influences were, people like Lewis Carroll and Edmund Lear and, The Wizard of Oz, in terms of the things focused at what led to ChalkZone. Because ChalkZone imaginative place where with an alternative universe, and those are alternative universe stories, and I was smitten by those things, along with everything else. It wasn't the only thing that I liked, but you know, I read a lot of Edgar Allan Poe when I was a kid, and uh, and just started writing as soon as I discovered that writing was something that people could do, that human beings did, and even got paid for it. I was down with trying to do everything that there was to write: plays, humor, songs, later songs, but poems, essays, short stories, novels, TV shows, everything that I could imagine could be done, or that I realized could be done, I was trying.
Now, I'm actually curious, like at a very young age, did you already knew that you wanted to go into this direction, or did you have like a different set of goals that you had right before you went into the direction that you did end up in?
Well, Larry seems to have gone in the direction that he wanted to go. I came around the long way around. Go ahead, Larry. Tell us your background.
Well, I always wanted to draw. I felt that I was required to draw. It was the only thing that I did that set me apart from everyone else in my family. And something told me it was what set me apart from everybody else in high school. So it was my personality on display, I guess, that I went for. Also, the fact is I really consider being able to draw and make something responsive from it. I felt that was a talent, and I felt that was required to at least attempt to use the talent. And now this is going to sound very religious, and in some ways it was, but I was very attracted to that parable in the Bible about the master with several talents, and he dispensed them to his servants, and they used them as well as they could. Some of them were terrified of having the responsibility to use a talent and buried it, and the others progressed accordingly. Well, I thought to myself, if I didn't at least try to earn a living from it, then I would have failed already at the first challenge I faced. And so with that in mind, I packed up my wife, and we piled all our wedding presents in an old convertible and head for California, just to try out my attempt at making a living at animation.
Well, that was very astute of you, Larry, to go to California as opposed to, let's say, illustrating advertisements for the local newspaper or something, or being a teacher of art. You decided to go for the big leagues, and you made it.
And don't think that I am any less surprised than anybody else in my family.
When you say you were required to draw, were your parents, pressuring you to draw, or was that an internal, coming from yourself requirement?
Yeah, it actually was. I spent 12 years in Catholic school, so I was driven by that idea that we all have a responsibility, and so I tried to do this way. Now, I felt if I dutifully failed at doing it, but it was an honest attempt, then I could go back and cut meat, because I'm a butcher's son of a butcher's son. 3 generations of making meat cut up out of large slabs into small pieces that people could eat. That's what I was on my way to do, and what I could have swung back and do, and it paid well in the Midwestern environment that I came out of. But only reason I went to California is because I stumbled across Walt Disney's name of the Board of Trustees at California Institute of the Arts, this new institution that was starting that combined music and acting along with the written or the drawn form. I thought, well, this is, if it's good enough for Uncle Walt, it's good enough for me. So right away, celebrityism, attracted me to come to. That's not a word, is it? Celebrityism should be. That attracted me.
Interestingly, Patricia, Larry just mentioned that his father was a butcher, and we put the family for Rudy to Booty together, sort of replicating different aspects of our actual families. Rudy's father was a butcher, and there's several episodes in which Rudy is supposed to help out at the butcher store, which I assume Larry was also supposed to help out at his father's butcher store, and Rudy does things that get him in trouble. And my parents' names were Joe and Millie, and Rudy's parents' names are Joe and Millie. And my mother was an opera singer who hadn't made it. She was world-class opera singer who was probably good enough to have been a professional opera singer, but she married my father and became a wife instead. And so she used to burst into, boo, time for dinner. She would, at any moment, she would sing operatically, and so that's what we had the characters doing in our show.
So I take it that with the description that maybe you're more like Rudy, Larry, with your love of drawing. And I guess with the music aspect, I guess we can kind of like put together of how Bill was able to incorporate some of his stuff with his mom being an opera singer, and there will be a lot of segments in the show where there's a lot of singing. So how did you get that balance of combining both of your ideas together into one, as opposed to like one leaning towards the other?
Well, some days it was leaning one way, and some days it was leaning the other. But remember, we are partners on this thing, and we both got into it. Was the fact that we may not be socially or personality-wise, or even both the same with each other, but we made a pretty good team. I'm a first. That comes out of my mouth the first time anybody approaches me about that. I said somehow the two of us were our own Bill Han and Joe Barbera.
Speaking of which, I believe that that's how you guys met, right? Working at Hanna-Barbera?
Correct.
Yeah, Larry was the, Larry was a big producer making shows happen for a long time before Fred Seibert came to Hanna-Barbera. And when Fred came, he very intelligently put Larry in charge of the big initiative to make up a whole bunch of new original songs, so new original cartoons, not songs. I write songs, and so instead of having like network executives decide, well, this seems like a good idea, so let's put $20 million behind this one idea. Let's have 30 or 40 creators make 30 or 40 cartoons and see which 3 or 4 or 5 make people get excited. And so Larry was put in charge of that sort of anthology effort. And I was at the time the creative director of Hanna-Barbera, meaning that not that I was directing all the creative of the whole place, but that I was sort of making marketing materials and making things that helped the business run. That's really what my job was. But my desire very strongly was to make cartoons. I loved cartoons. I wouldn't say that making cartoons had been my ambition until I moved out to California and became the creative director of Hanna-Barbera, but that's what I wanted to do. And so there was Larry overseeing this effort, and me helping it along in different ways. And Fred said, you guys got to get together and make a cartoon together. And so we did.
Now, I'm actually curious, have you ever tried to pitch ChalkZone to Cartoon Network?
To pitch it?
Cartoon Network. Did we pitch it? Yes, we did pitch it. We pitched it to the who in the heck was running Nickelodeon at that time?
Well, if it was around the late 90s, then I believe it was still Geraldine right before Albie Hedge took over around the 2000s.
I think the answer to that question is no. We never pitched it while we were still at Hanna-Barbera. In fact, we developed it really when we got over to Nickelodeon.
Gotcha.
We had the idea and we realized that that's what we wanted to do, but we didn't get to it. And well, for What a Cartoon, which was the name of the show that
it was Fred Frederick that put us together, and he's the one that came up with the idea that I was running all these little shorts that they're in Cartoon Network. Well, I keep calling it Cartoon Network because Cartoon Network was the parent at one point in time, but also the fact that that's where it was going to be, showcased. And he kept approaching me saying, you ought to do a cartoon yourself. I said, I'd love to do that, but I don't have time. I got all these kids running around all over. And I said, I'm responsible whether they win or lose. So I can't do that. But he came up with the idea that, well, then we need to stop gap. We got kick started. So he sent Bill over and he walked in my room one day. He says, would you like to do a cartoon together? And said, Bill, I would like to do a cartoon. And I got an idea for it, and let's talk about it. And so it was a very ruthless idea, but so what you see on the screen is not anyone's single creative thought, but the actual duo of creativity that got that thing on the air.
Yes.
Del Heck was the one that was intrigued by the whole concept of this big picture type of thing. A universe beyond that tickled his fancy, and that's what we got picked up for as a first short. And that brings in Carlos Ramos somewhere along this line, but maybe you just ask him. I'd love to hear what his off the wall take is about this, knowing that I'm not around to hear it.
Well, we're having a reunion on the 22nd. That Larry and I are going to participate in, and Carlos will be there, and so will a lot of other people who, so maybe you get to hear what Carlos says, although it won't be when no one else is around. It'll be quite a gang.
Well, where is the gang going to be meeting?
Where the gang is going to be meeting, you're going to have to learn how to work Zoom by then.
Oh gosh, it's gonna be the Zoom thing. Yeah, I can't do that without somebody knowledgeable. Who the hell is that? I don't know yet. I think Sylvia. Sylvia knows that. Sylvia knows
get Sylvia to help you.
Yeah, that'll work.
Mm-hmm. Now, when going over from the original pilot that you did for Oh Yeah Cartoons, which did feature a somewhat similar story to an early episode of ChalkZone, with the only difference being that Penny wasn't introduced into it until when the series was picked up. So what was the idea of including Penny into the series after creating the short?
Well, go ahead. Go ahead, Larry.
I noticed that there was no female characters leading, and that I saw that was a no-no. And of course, it had been hammered into me long enough for that. So Penny became our lead character because I love the dynamic between an artistic mind and a driven female character who knows what she wants and goes out to get it. Bill and I joke all the time that instead of if it went into an age where we aged up the characters, for example, and made them they both go to college at the same college that Penny picked, and Penny would be the one that initiated who was going to get together. Eventually, Penny's going to get them both together at some point in time in history because she obviously was the dynamic character. And the last name Sanchez came together with us kicking around. We probably also don't really have any ethnic characters in our group, and the story is set in a place called Dakota, which is Minnesota, Dakota, that kind of thing. And so consequently, there weren't a lot of ethnic characters in that area. But we put in a Hispanic character, but the character who voiced Penny early on was not Hispanic. She was just a generic white person like I am. So, as a matter of fact, one of her mother, when she came in to voice the character of her mother, said to me, says, "So can somebody tell me why I have a white girl for a daughter?" And we said, well, we went with the actress's voice, and that incredible voice that Penny does is just wonderful. And we always kind of kept that way. We cast for the character, and if we had to have a specifically ethnic character, we made sure to try with our darndest to find a ethnic character that could voice the cartoon character. So we were very conscious of that whole thing going in there. So hopefully we conquered that, because we were nominated as for a Hispanic award twice during that period of time.
Yeah, and even still to this day, I believe that the premiere episode was the highest rated in Nickelodeon history.
Yep.
That's what we were told.
Yeah.
Saved our butts.
Yeah.
So noticing about the episodes, that the way they were structured. So you have like 2 episodes featuring with Rudy, Snap, and the gang. And then you had one episode focusing on just Snap, which when Kevin and I interviewed you, Bill, almost a decade ago, you called them Snapisodes. And then yes, I know, very clever, by the way. And then at the end, it would be featured a 1-minute song, or, depending on how the structure was, sometimes the whole episode could have music, or maybe like it would be dispersed out between the episodes. So what was the process of sitting down and writing the episodes down, or coming up with ideas for the episodes?
Well, let me explain why we had that strange structure.
Yeah, go for it.
We started out making 7-minute cartoons, and the idea was to emulate the great cartoons of Warner Brothers and etc. And then when we were picked up, the coin of the realm was more like the 11-minute cartoon, 2 11-minute cartoons making 22 minutes, and that's it, But we really liked the shorter forms, and so we said, okay, we could do a 10-minute cartoon and a 7-minute cartoon, and then we could do a 4-minute cartoon to kind of look at what Snap was up to when Rudy wasn't around, because Rudy only was there a little bit of the time, And then the 1-minute music videos were ordered really by Albie Hecht. I was more than happy to do it. I love writing songs. It's my favorite thing to do in the world. And, but there really was no compelling reason why these people who had a magic chalk and went into a magic world should also have a rock band and be singing their asses off, at the end of every show. It was just a kind of additional fantasy, and so that's I think we would have been happy enough to make 3 7-minute cartoons, and have that be the half hour, but they didn't like that idea. Nickelodeon didn't like that idea, and it was used against us.
Fred himself, Fred Tybert, was the one that kind of focused on that 7-minute cartoon format. From a writing standpoint, it's the longer the time you have, the more complicated storyline you can put together. So putting together, 2 11 minutes would have been a more practical form of storytelling. But also the fact is that we got into it and we decided, well, let's just have a little fun with it. And one of the things I insisted was, well, if we're going to do 7-minute cartoons, there has to be some slapstick in it. That's the way all those 7-minute cartoons had a lot of, what we referred to at the time as hurt gags, an anvil hits them on the head. They open up a door and the train comes through. I mean, it was a lot of those real action, hurt gags. I said, well, if we're going to do slapstick, then we got to have it so no one gets hurt. So we can't have Rudy get involved in these slapstick things or move it into the real world like his parents or anybody like that. It had to be a cartoon character. So that said, okay, it's all up to Snap. Snap's going to get all the stuff dumped on him, or he's going to be in part of that slapsticking stuff, because every child in the universe and whose parents ever watch cartoons know that isn't real stuff, and the kids will understand that as well. So we did that. I got to tell you, that was for Larry. Larry just loved the slapstick jokes. That's where I had my stuff. And Phil could put in all the songs he wanted in those things, and we both went home happy. So, but I'll tell you, we looked at the content of some cartoons that were done in half hours, and Bill and I got together. We watched one particular holiday special, and afterwards we said, Bill, I think we go out of our way to put stories in our shows. He said, yeah, no one's working that hard. So it's true. We had an A and a B plot line running in some of those longer shows. It was,
and they had to be resolved. You had to, what the network demanded for the longer shows was an A story and a B story, sometimes a C story, and they all had to be resolved, and in most cartoons, if you look at them, they aren't that complex. We were really doing some heavy lifting of storytelling.
That's true.
So with all that discussion, I was wondering, what have been your personal favorite episodes?
Well, I always go for.
I was going to say there's four episodes in each episode. So
yeah, I think she means individual units. Probably, is that what you mean?
Yeah. Like if there was like an episode that you had written that you felt the most proud of, what would you say were?
I'm very proud of the portable portal, because in that one, Rudy has a small chalkboard that's too small for him to climb through. And he's stuck in his class with this teacher who insists on everything having to be real, and so he can escape the classroom by making a frame, by drawing with the magic chalk around the frame, but it's only enough for him to sort of peer through, and to reach through. He can reach his hand into ChalkZone and he can see what's going on, and has to get up. Something is happening that he has to help fix, and he has to get up and walk around the school because ChalkZone is on the other side of this portable portal. And meanwhile, the real, her name is Miss Tweezer, and Miss Tweezer is tracking him down, certain that he's onto something, and it has a great torture scene. But I have so many that I like. I like the really strange ones, like when the eyeball bush is propagating itself by eyeballs jumping off of the eyeball bush and landing on somebody else's eyeballs, and they land on Rudy and Snap's eyeballs, and then they can only see what the eyeball bush sees. And it's based on real natural fact of that's how many plants reproduce, is that they get attached to an animal or a person, and they get carried somewhere where they then fall off and a new one grows, right? So you go, Larry. What's your favorite ChalkZone episode?
Well, I've got two that just jumped to mind. I'm going to pick the smallest one first, because it does I don't know, homage, if you will, to my sidekick here, and that's the what's my line? My line, what's my line? Where we go down to the smallest unit of drawing, and that's a line, and then the line becomes animated as you turn it into a wheel, or it becomes a bridge or something like that. And
Yeah.
it's all animated, and it's all musically animated. And I thought that, I hope we did the best job of Bill's song on that. And now I don't know that it was actually written, I think, before it was actually musically put together, but once Bill put it musically together, then the board had to match everything that he wrote down. So it was a wonderful collaboration. The other one I liked a lot was the one about, I think it was a little bit like Cocoon, where they had people got younger when they went into the swimming pool.
Oh, yeah.
Well, here
Yeah.
it was a rock quarry, an abandoned rock quarry, where they drew a circle, a chalk circle on this rock wall, and that was their entrance into ChalkZone. Only, unfortunately, it was underwater. It was in the wait and see, and so the things just came out of this water almost unstoppable, and they were terrified of how they were going to get out of there. And parents came to help, and they got into it, and suddenly they were childlike, and they started using it as their own personal swimming hole. There was a lot of activity in that, including a local Indian chieftain or shaman who did a rain dance in order to flood the quarry and get everybody out. So it was complex as well, but it had some wonderful story elements in it and visuals that I like. I like that kind of thing. Well, I liked a lot of stuff that was done here. Don't ask us what the worst episodes are. I can't remember any of those.
I will not. I will not.
The Wiggies is a great one too. It's kind of straightforward, funny, a bizarre creature that eats hair.
Yeah. One of my favorite ones, I think you even mentioned that a few years ago on your blog, was the Snapisode where Snap gets into the car and the car is just constantly singing, and he tries to stop it, but it just keeps on going because he just so happened to have gotten the car in exchange for the cruise that he was going to for his vacation.
Yeah, RV having fun yet.
Yes, I love. Yeah, RV having fun yet. That's the one.
He was
Bill remembers all those titles.
That was actually the original idea of Adria Walden, the assistant on the show, who wrote several really interesting episodes. That was one, and I couldn't allow Adria to write the songs because we couldn't have a whole thing. Mm-hmm. But it was her concept. And then another concept of hers was Melodramer Falls, which was where there was a chalkboard that had been stashed in the back of an old theater that hadn't been used in years. It was a silent movie theater. And when they went through the chalkboard back there, they went into a black and white silent film world. And that was cool, Another one similar to that in the sense that it's a world, it's a specific segment of ChalkZone, is Vincent Van Gogh, which was all Vincent Van Gogh type paintings. And Jeff Levin, the music guy, did an amazing score for that. It was like Debussy or Dvorak or some, it was a very elaborate orchestral score.
Now, going into episodes, I needed to ask this. What have been your favorite songs in ChalkZone?
A favorite song?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you mean from the music videos?
Yeah, either from the music videos or maybe from one of the Snap episodes or any of the episodes in general. Yeah, just what have been your favorites?
Well, the music videos are so graphic that 1 minute. First of all, I got to give credits again to Bill, that he's the, it's really hard to come up with a complete song in 1 minute. Otherwise, you're just repeating the same verse over and over. But Bill manages to do it, and those are always good. And we did something else with those music videos. We didn't have a team of people specifically to do them. We cast them to the artists that were available. So the overall look was based upon an artist's vision. And we had some incredible artists lend handles to them. And they all loved that kind of work because it was so personal to them when they got done with it. And slap Bill's song on top of it and my incredible creativity and putting it all together. And there you have it. So it's I like a lot of those music videos particularly, but which one did I like most? Boy, that's really hard. For me, Bill's got them all categorized.
Yeah, I love so many of them. Escúchame Corazón is a favorite, and I also, Larry basically left me alone on the music videos, but one time he came in and said, "Look, I'd just like to make a request that you do a country music. I like country music. I want a country song." And Larry also was really into trains. He's a big train guy, and so I made the song Midnight Train, which I got a ticket in my hand, I got a satchel pack, I got a special place to stand on the number 7 track. Midnight train, I'm gonna ride the midnight train. I got a pal who's an engineer, funny little guy named Joe. He was gonna grin from ear to ear when he makes that whistle blow. Midnight train. And the funny little guy named Joe was caricatured was Larry Huber caricatured. If you find that, you can find it on YouTube. And there he is, a little impish Larry Huber leaping around the engine of this train, grinning from ear to ear. And did you know that, Larry? You must have known that at the time.
No, I look like every ugly little bearded man that's ever been drawn, so I don't know.
It's definitely him.
Well, I mean, I've never had this in almost 10 years of my podcast, but I mean, since this whole subject has been brought up, I would love it if you would play some songs in your guitar.
Oh my gosh. Well, one that I was thinking of because of what Larry said, we had a wonderful storyboard artist named Barry Bunce. And Barry was always just such a great storyboard artist and such a great promoter of the, he made the show fun for everybody. Whenever he pitched a board, he would put on a big show and come in some sort of strange costume and then sadly Larry got cancer and he was too sick to draw the full-size storyboards, which are like 160 pages of each with 3 panels. That's a lot of work, but he could do the music videos because he was those are only like maybe 70 pages and so I wanted to write a song that, because he was a big fan of reggae, and so I wrote this song for him to do as a storyboard, and he did it. He loved it, and they had only given him like 2 months to live or something, and he went on living for about 18 months. I'm not saying that the storyboard on the song saved him necessarily, but who knows? But it goes. See, there's the guitar here. I've been wishing for a magical breeze. Let it blow my way. Feel it swishing through the tropical trees. Let it blow my way. Let it blow my way. Ooh, let let it blow, let it blow, let it blow my way. Ooh, let it blow my way. There's a ripple moving over the pond, let it blow my way. Like a signal from the great beyond, let it blow my way, let it blow my way. Ooh, let it blow, let it blow, let it blow my way. Ooh, let it blow my way. I've been trying just to fly my kite for a long, long time. Keep on trying cause I think I just might catch a breeze this time. When the breeze comes a-rushing through, let it blow my way. It's gonna lift me, it's gonna lift you too. Let it blow my way, let it blow my way. Ooh, let it blow, let it blow, let it blow my way. Ooh, let it blow my way. I've been trying just to fly my kite for a long, long time. Keep on trying cause I think I just might catch a breeze this time. And when the breeze comes a-rushing through, let it blow my way. It's gonna lift me, it's gonna lift you too. Let it blow my way, let it blow my way. Ooh, let it blow, let it blow, let it blow my way. Ooh, let it blow, let it blow my way. Ooh, let it blow, let it blow, let it blow my way. Ooh, let it blow my way. Whenever
That
I
was
sing
nice.
that song, thank you. Whenever I sing that song, when I sing the verse, there's a ripple moving over the pond, let it blow my way. Like a signal from the great beyond, let it blow my way, let it blow. I always think about Barry, I get kind of choked up.
Wow. That's wonderful. Yeah. I was wondering, especially since with everything that's been going on, and I just think about everything that's been happening in terms of like in recent years that we just can't take anything for granted. And even when things just look really, really low, if we just find something that makes us happy, it can help let us cope, even though it's maybe small, even like a song or maybe like a trinket or something. It really does help a little bit. So that was actually really wonderful, Bill.
Sounds like a closing song to me.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, so I guess we can wrap things up. So I just want to say two more questions. One is, now that the show is celebrating its 20th anniversary and people are still talking about it on social media, and ChalkZone was released on DVD thanks to Shout Factory, and the show's been out on Paramount Plus. And I mean, even what you were saying earlier, that you guys are doing the 20th anniversary ChalkZone reunion podcast with the cast and crew that were done by the fans. So how did it make you feel?
About time.
Yeah, it's been a long time now.
It makes me feel really warm and cozy that so many people like it, and kind of sad that we can't go back and do some more. The Nickelodeon has been doing a lot of rebooting of this and that, Hey Arnold and Rugrats and other shows, and I would love to go back and do either like another season or a special movie or some kind of I mean, I have many, many, many ideas. I was just looking, we did, Patricia, we did two um, ending um, music videos because we thought we had come to the last episode and then they asked for one more episode. So we did a song called Time to Go Home, which was set in a kind of vaudeville house with curtains, and the kids came out, diving, like thanks for clapping. Guess we always knew this had to happen. Just like that. Time to go home. And we did that. And we did a special thing where we made like about, I don't know how long it was, about 5 minutes of extra animation of people leaving the place and the guy sweeping up and everything. And then they said, oh, no, that's not the last episode. And so we did another one. Let's go wandering, let's go wandering, you and I, where the mountains brush the sky. And it's a very, very it has overtones of that ending of Winnie the Pooh, where they go out walking, in the 100-acre wood, and because the three main characters, Rudy, Penny, and Snap, are getting in some kind of strange device, and they're going off somewhere in ChalkZone. They're going off into ChalkZone, and all the people that they've loved, such as Biclops and Rapshiba and Bathtub Granny and Blocky and this polar bear, and are all gathered to wave goodbye to them, and they go off into the mountains. Brings tears to the eye. And so that would be another way to start from there, of like, oh, what were they doing? Why were they going off into ChalkZone? I mean, they don't, Rudy and Penny don't live in ChalkZone, but they were going off somewhere. They obviously had some idea, and we don't know what it was. So
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that if the demand is there, that you would be called in to do either another season or a special. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. I mean, I always like to call it like the 30-year rule, where, you wait a while from now where people start to get, very attached to the shows or to the movies or whatever that they grew up with. So I take it that if it's there, that it'll come in time. So yeah, I think that we will be probably seeing something related to ChalkZone pretty soon.
I'd like to think so. The fellows who are doing the reunion podcast are all about 20 years old, and they were real ChalkZone fans, appropriately ChalkZone fans when it happened, and now they're fondly remembering ChalkZone. They're doing this entirely. I didn't ask them to do this. They got in touch with me and said, hey, we got to do a thing. So we're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, like literally, that's how Hey Arnold was able to come back for the Jungle movie, was because of fan demand. So I'm sure once, you get a lot of fan demand from the ChalkZone community, then I'm sure Nickelodeon will see, hey, let's bring this back.
From your lips to Viacom's ears.
There you go. If not, I'm sure that the reunion podcast will speak much louder than I could.
Anyway,
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, I have nothing. I have nothing intelligent to say after this point. I'm still tearing up after those last two songs, and they were the saddest songs. I just said, Bill, God, is there anything? Don't you want to end on a cheery note? Jeez.
Well, okay. Tell you what. I mean,
shoot them down.
Tell you what. Once we wrap things up, then we can end it on a cheery note. How about that? Okay. So for anybody who wants to get into either art or music or go into making their own animated shows, what advice would you give them?
Today, I would say, well, you can make a cartoon relatively expensively on a coffee table computer. Once you buy a software like that, you can literally get on that thing and do stuff that we needed a light board and Xerox assist to help do us those cartoons. But today, no, that new technology is wonderful. And if I was starting out in animation, that's the first thing I do is I buy a computer and I teach myself a program that's on that stuff, and away we go. I might still do that yet before I call it quits, just for my own pleasure. But that's what I would do. And right now, I got to tell you that anime is a big deal. It's a simple form to get a handle around. I notice a lot of people are into that. I said they shouldn't all just turn their backs on some of the classic American animation that was created. So that's what you could do now, and that would give you a portfolio in a few hours of your time, maybe more than a few hours, but depending on how deep you want to go in and explore it.
Larry, what is the what program and what hardware would you get to do that, to follow your advice?
You're gonna catch me on stuff I don't know anything about now, aren't you?
Yeah.
There are several programs we put together, one for ink and paint, and then one for the actual drawing program. And then the others are a way that they can layer them together, and the more and more money you want to pay for that kind of stuff, and the more and more programs you want to get and put them together, the more costly your film begins. But I just think you could do that. You could do the whole thing in Photoshop if you must.
In Photoshop.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Photoshop. A lot of them start out with Photoshop. So.
All right. No, I know that, like Bob Nessler was holed up in his back chamber with a thing that he could, it was like an iPad, but it was dedicated.
A Wacom tab. That's what he had. And it was a smaller one. And those work beautifully. And there is a program for that attaches to it. When I set up my outfit at a studio, I have on my left-hand side, I've got the standard check the email computer. On the right-hand side, I've got a Wacom tab. It's a big one. And I have yet to learn the program enough to where I can feel comfortable drawing on that damn piece of plastic. So I will always shoot with a flintlock, guys. Paper and pegs.
Yeah, well, if it helps if you are able to draw.
Oh yes, I think that's essential. But a lot of people, some people, there's a guy who draws everything in stick figures, and it's hilarious. It works on it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to put a lot of animation in things. You can have a couple of body movements with a head, a snapping finger, and you've got a cartoon that will go through the ages. So.
And then what do you put it on YouTube? Is that?
Yep. Yeah. YouTube would be really happy to put it on there. As a matter of fact, that's how we found the new artists over here when I worked at Frederator. They had one guy whose whole job was nothing more than to screen the internet to find little tiny cartoons or snippets of it, or some gags attached to it like that. And then he would make a contact, say, "Hey, how about coming over and doing a show for us?" And that's where some of that stuff, we actually sought out that stuff for Frederator. And in one of his, what can I say? Frederator has given birth to several types of internet cartoon formats, and he has financed an awful lot of stuff right over the air, from cold, a couple of sketches that he's seen on the air that look like they have promise. So, and he at the very beginning of this whole stuff, I said I was one of the guys that was brought in to give these young people coming in that have never actually animated film from beginning to end advice and guidance as it went through. I may still end up doing that in my latter years, but it goes back to the giving back type of thing. But I couldn't have lived in this industry for 34 years if it hadn't been for the guidance that the old timers in this business gave me about drawing and about structure as far as laying out a picture and all the aspects thereof. Because if you're a better artist and a better filmmaker if you understand what everybody's problem that can occur does occur. And so if you can take the extra time to add the extra drawings and direction so that it makes their job that follows coming after, from the ink and paint girl to the cameraman to all this stuff. If you understand each process along the way, then you'll know what problems can arise and how you can do that yourself. The name of the product though is not called ink and paint. The name of the product is not called background design. The name of the product is animation. And so all those things must understand that making drawn characters dance and sing, that's animation. So that's why people will still pay fortune to see it.
Larry, what did you just say? The name of the product is not what? And what? It's animation?
A Wacom tablet? Yeah, you can Wacom tablet. But it's but all these other things are formats that we all used all the way through time. So but right now you can just get on that little, and I'd have to look it up to come up with the name because I haven't used it for years.
So advice on writing music, Bill?
Bill never stops writing.
Oof, boy, I write all the time and I record all the time, but in the music industry, if that's what you're asking about, has changed so dramatically from what it once was. And I don't really understand exactly how it works anymore. And the people that I know who are in it don't understand exactly how it works. There are ways that people, quote unquote, drop albums now. Maybe you understand it. I don't. It's somehow everybody knows that so and so has dropped a new album, but I don't know how they know that. It's not. It used to be that it would show up on the radio station that everyone was listening to, and here it is, the new thing from the Bee Gees, and But
I think nowadays, due to social media, and they're announcing that, hey, here comes this new album that's dropping, and because we have like streaming services with Spotify and with Apple Music and Pandora, and even YouTube Music has this as well. So more people are able to know this particular artist released this album, or this particular artist released this music video. So I think that radio does still play a major role into knowing about what's in the top 40. But as for like the convenience of knowing about like what's going on in the music industry and what's going on in the music world as what's popular, I think that using these streaming sites such as Spotify is how people are able to know about what's really popular nowadays. In fact, I think that would be really great is if you can be able to release the songs in ChalkZone. I mean, I know that you've released it in CD, but it'll be nice maybe for his 20th anniversary if you can have it maybe posted up on vinyl record, which is what Hey Arnold did, where they actually did a very special vinyl record edition, and it has like all of the songs that were featured in the show, and those things sold out so much so that when they released like four, it was like they released it like 4 editions, like 4 separate times, and they sold out in minutes. I'm not even joking. And I think that once you release that in larger quantities, people are going to buy it.
It's interesting that you say that, Patricia, because one of the 3 young fellers who are doing the reunion just contacted me just before we had this conversation, saying, "Oh, we gotta make a special compilation of all of the ChalkZone songs and there's a whole lot of songs inside the shows. There's the music videos,
yes,
but episode had some kind of song in it, or many of them did anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. And some of them are not even released on CD.
Oh,
I mean, Buried with Love, the one that Tim Curry sang for the
yeah,
Halloween special, that's not on a CD.
I know, and it's Tim Curry, for God's sake.
It's exactly Tim Curry, right? Even like Merry Chris Hanukkah, I don't believe is on CD either, and neither is Fireplug Ballet and various other songs that were never released on a CD or never released on any format, unless you're able to like look up the original stuff on YouTube, like when it was posted like over a decade ago, or people can be able to watch it on Paramount Plus or on DVD. But yeah, I think that being able to release it on a way that people can be able to tune into much easier, I think would definitely get more people tuning into the music for sure.
Yeah. Isn't it funny that Nickelodeon just completely overlooks that?
Trust me, once they know that you got something good coming, they'll come to you immediately.
Okay.
Trust me on this. I mean, I've seen it before, and usually these trends don't just like happen once; they happen over and over and over again.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Another thing that I'm forever grateful for when I paid for the CD was that I was able to get some of your raw recordings of when you were starting to write the songs before you actually had the voice actors put their spin into it, and then it was released in the final product. So yeah, I think that would be also really nice to have like a behind the scenes feature about like how you were able to like get the songs together right before they actually release into what they are now. So I think that'd be also really great to hear.
The ChalkZone anthology.
That's it. That the ChalkZone anthology. I like that.
Yeah.
And also, for you, Larry, I think an art book would be really great. Like, maybe like there's some, drawings of like what Rudy, Snap, and eventually Penny and all the other characters look like before that ChalkZone first formed, and maybe some like additional drawings of like how the characters look before their final product. I mean, art books are really popular nowadays. I think that people will love that too.
Yeah.
I had an artist friend of mine who were just sitting around having coffee and stuff like that, and I did a sketch of the key characters on a napkin, and it was his napkin, so he just picked it up, took it with me, and then several years after the show was up and running, he says, "Look, I've got the original ChalkZone characters right here." He said, and I said, "You do, you bastard," and he says, "But I'm giving it to you." And so somewhere that napkin exists. I don't know if I'll ever find it, but
that's great.
The programs that the two most popular programs now that actually work professionally in the industry are the Adobe Character Animator program and the Harmony Toon Boom Harmony.
Yeah,
those two are the stuff that are most popular. So
yeah, I hear about that a lot.
Hey, Larry, is
anyway,
John Kimball? Is John Kimball still around?
John Kimball, sure, but John doesn't. John is rich. He inherited all that money, I tease him anyway about it whenever I stumble across him. His main love, believe it or not, is music, like you, Bill. But he loves jazz. He plays jazz, and I think he plays a horn. He has been writing what can I say? It's been I want to call it a musical, but it's not a musical. It's an opera. I've been writing an opera for years, but I didn't get a chance to see him. They had a whole get together recently that was put together by one of the gals that worked in the business, and she got us all together for this. I don't know how many years together we was, and I saw a bunch of the guys there, and people I hadn't talked to for years, or maybe I should put it this way, who wouldn't talk to me for years. I'm not sure how that worked. But,
Patricia,
so I'm happy to hear there's another reunion, just so I can sit around chew the rag with some guys.
What were you saying, Bill?
Do you follow me on Facebook and stuff?
I do. Yes.
Okay, so you ought to, tune into this this reunion thing.
Oh, absolutely. I'm in. I'm in 100%. I will be there. I'll be
Tell
there with
your,
bells and whistles.
Okay.
Well, I just want to thank you guys so much for coming into the podcast. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, it was nice to be interviewed by you, Patricia. Thank you.
So
you brought Bill and I together. I mean, I never haven't heard from Bill for years, and then all of a sudden this popped up. Dear God, you don't live too far from me, so who knows?
Well, I have to thank Bill for that. So thank you for coming by, Larry.
All right.
Well, yeah. So yeah, why don't you guys talk about upcoming projects that you have? Where can people find you at? Plug and promote your stuff.
Go ahead, Bill. You're the
okay.
You got the business by promoting. So.
I'm working on a YouTube show called Around the Edges, which is going to feature my bizarre, surrealistic writing and songs and sketches and stuff like that. And I'm hoping to launch it by April 1st. And so people should look for that. I'll certainly put up things on, around the social media world to direct people there. But so there will be some ChalkZone stuff in there. Yeah.
Awesome.
I've been independently working as basically animation producer, which basically means that I put together projects on other animation shows that people have not done yet before, directing and something producing. I've been doing this with my many years partner, Sylvia Edwards, who I think people only hire me so they can get her, because she's so good at her job at wrangling people together and doing the budgets for it. So we've been holed up in Glendale after we lost the facilities that we were in Burbank, and after a whole year of working kind of somber environment, we've been offered to come back and join Fred Seibert to maybe go back and do some of the old stuff again. So we're having hopes about getting together and having good the next 6 months of this year. So
sounds great.
We all move into the new facility in about a month. So.
Well, I wish you guys the best of luck on that. And as for me, you can find me on YouTube, youtube.com/oldsschoollane. You can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/oldsschoollane. I'm on Twitter at Patty_B_Miranda. You can check out the podcast on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public, many places. New episodes of my podcast will go there first, and then it'll go up a few days on YouTube. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let us know in the comments below about your fondest memories of ChalkZone. What have been your favorite episodes? What have been your favorite songs? What have been your favorite moments? Do you want to see ChalkZone come back as a TV movie or as an additional season? Please let us know. And also tune in to the upcoming 20th anniversary reunion podcast. I'm sure I'll leave all the links in the description so you guys can check it out. And yeah, that's it. And of course, we cannot leave off without another song from you, Bill. So, your choice, something a little cheery to end things off.
Oh, all right. This is actually one of the lesser known ChalkZone things, but I sang it. I just had a birthday, and so I sang this. Piece of cake, looking at you is something I find so easy to do. Piece of cake, cutting a slice is something I just might want to do twice. Piece of cake, taking a bite is something that somehow seems so right. Piece of cake, piece of cake. I don't know why, but you are twice as easy as pie. Piece of cake. And I don't know when, but I know pretty soon I'm coming back again. Piece of cake. 'Cause haven't you heard? I always come back for seconds and thirds. Piece of cake. I wanna get lost in your frosting, make you my abode. Topping off my new battle cries. Remember the Alamo. That's a joke, son. Easy night.
Very nice. Okay, everyone, take care.